far into this particular video, but I can tell that Vaush is already fucking up right away. And so let me tell you why, Vaush. I can't even with you, dude. Oh my god. You know, you practically drove this dude to suicide. He had to check himself into a psych ward because of all the live stream. I haven't watched all of them. I've watched you, I've watched Asanabi, I've watched Michael Richards, and I watched that other guy who covered this. I can't remember his name. But the reality is that your coverage has been so fucking over the top and biased that what you're doing is so fucking irresponsible. And I am not giving this guy excuses. But what I'm saying is that you are pouring gasoline all over this fire. And you're in no fucking position to do so. You really aren't. I don't know if you had some sort of personal beef with this dude beforehand or something, but what you're doing is so fucking irresponsible. I can't even. All right, let's start from the top. God damn, Vaush.
What is it?
All right. I never thought I'd make a video like this, but I think there's an important conversation to be had, and I just want to be fully accountable, honest, and transparent with all of you guys. So I'd like to start by thanking every single person who's came out in the past week.
Yeah, we got the YouTuber opening right here. Never thought I'd be making a video like this. What are some other big ones? You know, like I just woke up, or you have like your eyes look teary a little bit. You know.
To speak about different ways in which my behavior has made them feel.
I'm sorry, what? What? What is that comment even? Like, why do you read, like, irrelevant comments that, like, do nothing to move the story forward? Why do you read irrelevant shit and just add inflammatory commentary to it? Like, I don't get your coverage whatsoever.
Comfortable or pressured during a sexual situation, and to people who said that I've made unwanted advances and had a hard time with rejection. I'm sure this was not easy to do. It's never easy to speak out, and it was a hard...
Okay, I want to be clear, by the way. I am very disposed against this guy. As far as...
You don't need to be clear. We all know this. Because your coverage has been incredibly fucking biased. Especially reading all of those I heard from a friend comments. Come on, man.
we can tell, based on the allegations that have been levied, and there are probably a lot that haven't been, we're talking about, like...
Why? Why do you do that? Why do you do that? I'm sure that he's probably attacked hundreds of women. I'm sure there's hundreds of women that feel this way, right, Vaush? Why do you do that? Report on the actual evidence, asshole.
Multiple years of, like, stalking.
He's 25, and there are no allegations of stalking. Every one of the women who have come forward have said that they knew him and they agreed to meet with him. That is not stalking. Why are you know what? You're totally exposing yourself to legal risk at this point by making those types of suggestions.
Direct harassment, threat, sexual assault, rape. Yeah, like this is...
None of that's been claimed. None of that's been claimed. Every one of them said that if they had sex with him, it was consensual. They said that they felt pressured into it. Okay? It's not the same thing, Vaush. Not the same thing. And they put themselves in situations where they are like, okay, I feel safe enough with you that I'm going to let you in my car. I feel safe enough with you that I'm going to let you in my house. I feel safe enough with you that I'm going to let you in my bed. Your coverage has been so fucking irresponsible.
This is very much like not an oopsie doopsie, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me to hear as well, because to be honest with you, up until this point...
Hey, Vaush, when are you going to come after Jackson Hinkle or Jordan Sheridan? People who actually had some pretty serious claims against them. Or, well, not Jackson. I don't know that anybody's claimed anything against Jackson Hinkle, but he's willingly admitted it in bad takes. That he gives the same toothbrush to every girl he invites over to his house. When are you going to come after, like, some of the other creepers in the progressive movement? Seriously. Like, you are throwing so much fuel on this particular story that is really wishy-washy. And it's good on him that he is actually like, you know what, I probably was pushy. There needs to be some context around this, though, because I actually knew these women, right? And in some cases, you know, they had consensual sexual experiences. It's not the same thing at all. And here you are, just like, this is, you're probably, pardon me. He's probably getting a lot of clicks on these videos. And he's just sensationalizing it.
I didn't even really realize that I had this pattern that had affected multiple people. I'd also like to apologize for my silence. I think that when this stuff first came out, I was in a state of denial and shock. I was, just riding the high from my movie that just came out. And then within 48 hours, I was denounced by my closest collaborators. And my name was printed in 40 different news outlets next to the words sexual misconduct. And I just kind of spiraled into a mental health crisis. I'm okay now, but I don't really think this is about me. This is about the people that I've affected. So I just want to express my complete sympathy, respect, and support for anyone who I've done wrong by. And I really want to do better and be fully...
Okay, obviously we're operating entirely off of vibes here because we're just sort of registering sincerity, but I think this is total BS. The severity of the...
I don't care if you think it's BS or not, because you're not a mental health professional. You're not a victim yourself, as far as I know, unless you have some story that you want to come forward with. And so you can't relate to what victim behavior would look like. And I just, Vaush, like, I mean, seriously, when something like this comes up, just report the facts and details. You don't need to interject your personal vitriol on every fucking video, because honestly, you make bad takes quite frequently, and a lot of people have called you out for it, and on this one you have as well. The man has admitted that he was pushy. He is admitting that he is going to seek help to reform his behavior. And here you are just trying to get clicks once again on his back, pouring fuel on the fire, and not considering any of the other details that have been presented about how the women knew him, agreed to have sex with him in some cases, and also that he did respond when they said no. When the woman in the car said no, he left the vehicle. Why? Do you have some sort of personal beef against this guy that you don't want him to recover? You want him to be absolutely destroyed? Is that what's happening here? What is up with you, dude? Like, some of your takes are so fucking bad, and a lot of other activists across the country have realized this as well, that some of your takes are so fucking bad. But in this case, okay, dude gets hit with a hit campaign 48 hours after his HBO show is released. He has like a mental breakdown, an anxiety attack over it, and then has to face the consequences of the fact that when he faces rejection, he apparently throws tantrums. Again, not rape, not stalking, not even sexual assault. Not even sexual assault, Vaush.
The accusations against him would indicate an awareness on his part of the behavior that he's engaged in. We have like corroborated texts of multiple women saying to him that they make him uncomfortable. So the idea that he's unaware of this pattern up until this point just doesn't really sell unless he has some kind of like mental block on the subject. And considering we're talking about like serial sexual...
Again, can you tell me what your credentials are to make those sort of determinations? Are you a mental health professional, Vaush? Are you a counselor? What's your fucking resume?
Here. The like, this isn't about me, this is about them. I respect and admire their bravery. I don't I don't buy that line. You know, this isn't like some kind of
Can't even. He's monetized.
adversarial, you know, like
He's making money off this, you guys. Vaush is making money off of this story. He's monetized his channel. He's making money off this story. You're disgusting, dude.
I did my best, they did their best, but they did great, so let's give them a round of applause thing. This is like you've been a serial sexual predator. I don't know what you could really say. I feel like somebody,
keeping in mind this is the same guy who believes that like you can't have sexual innuendos at like pride parades, even though the entire point of a pride parade is to celebrate your sexual orientation or sexual identity or gender. But he feels like you can't do that at a pride parade. You have to make it family friendly, right? Got to make it family friendly. It sounds to me, and I'll be straight up. I am not a mental health professional, but it sounds to me like Vaush has a lot of things he needs to deal with about learning how to accept adult sexual behavior, about what it looks like to be an adult and to have to struggle with that dance of flirtation, how to struggle with whether or not you are interpreting your partner correctly, whether or not you're getting mixed signals. It sounds to me like Vaush doesn't have a lot of dating experiences and doesn't realize how complicated it can be and how many miscommunications there can be. But like I said, I'm not a mental health professional, so I'm not going to cast judgment on this fool, other than he should not be cast judgment on this fool. Like, obviously, they both have problems here. They both have issues. But Vaush is not an authority on this fucking subject.
somebody in chat said it earlier. What was it? I made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I do not expect to be forgiven. I'm simply here to apologize. Something like that. That's obviously you draw it out a bit more than that, but I feel like that's honestly kind of the beat he'd have to go for, where it's like, I don't even, that was Logan Paul's. Yeah, but I mean, like, I genuinely think that is the line you could. That's legal speak. I feel like he's legal speak.
There are so many dudes, like, I'm looking at the comment too. I mean, it's a decent apology, but I don't think there's such a thing as a good apology in this situation. You know what I'm finding is that there's a lot of dudes who are like, I would never do that. Oh, really? That's hilarious. I would never be forward and make a move on you. It's not going to happen. Of course you will, because the way that we were all raised is that women are not supposed to be the ones making the moves, because if we make the moves, then we're considered sluts, right? Okay, so the men are expected to be the ones making the moves. And then comes the whole dance of, do I want it? Do I not want it? And if you're inviting somebody back to your house, you're inviting them into your bed, you're inviting them into your car, you are sending signals to that individual. Now, how he acts after that, of course, you can revoke consent at any time. You most certainly can. And he is going to go on to say that he has always responded appropriately to the word no. So that, again, becomes he said, she said. And Vaush's coverage is incredibly irresponsible because he read a bunch of I heard from a friend bullshit that is not direct hand experience. And he's making determinations about this fella without having any sort of mental health credentials. And I can't make determinations about this fellow either. Like, to me, if I was to encounter somebody like this, I would just think he's a bit of a dirtbag, and I would tell him not to get in my car. I would not bring him back to my house. I would not let him crawl into my bed. If he was that persistent with me, I'd be like, I don't think so. I don't think so.
A little bit, or not legal speak, but he's doing kind of a boilerplate. That was a Logan Paul quote. No, I know, it's a meme, or at least I've seen it before.
That's not a fucking boilerplate. Are you kidding me? He actually took accountability for the feelings of the alleged victims. He actually was taking accountability that, hey, I'm sorry if I made you feel pressured. I'm sorry if I did this to you and I made you feel a certain way. That is way miles above what most people would do. So you can't call that a fucking boilerplate response, Vaush.
Accountable for everything that I've done. So that being said, I want to make a few things clear. I've always taken no for an answer. As far as consent, I've never overstepped that line. But
if that contradicts claims made from others, so multiple women might be lying, I think he's lying personally.
I haven't seen any contradictions at this point. What I have seen is you pushing out a bunch of troll comments that were, I heard from a friend. I haven't seen any contradictions yet. He's admitting that he might have been too pushy and that it was perceived that way and he was unintentionally doing so. And he is also admitting that he doesn't deal with rejection well, which a lot of dudes don't. A lot of dudes have fucking tantrums when they get rejected or when things don't go their way. They scream like little fucking children. This is not unusual. It's not good. It's not appropriate adult behavior, but it also is not considered sexual abuse. I would consider it verbal abuse, but it's not fucking sexual abuse.
I think I want to have a more nuanced and important conversation about power dynamics, pressure, and coercion. Because
did multiple of the accusations say directly otherwise? Yes. There are there was the primary video accusations. There were the people who said.
Honestly, at this point, Vaush, I hope he sues you for defamation. Because you've handled the story so badly. And you personally have affected his career at this point. Your coverage has been so fucking bad.
That he stalked and followed them. The girl who said that she had to kick him out of a car. The people who said that he was following them. The people who said there are so many. We could do a flow chart on this, the timelines of accusations here. I feel like so many have come out. If you could piece together the timeline there, you could almost just track his movement across.
Yeah, tell me when you're ready to drag Jordan Sheridan or Tim Coatran, or some of the other people out there who completely emerged unscathed from the accusations against them. Tell me when you're ready to address their behavior, because this is some bullshit that you're treating this situation so differently than these other people.
Country, real time, And there are people who directly contact you, right, Vaush? Did they say similar? The direct contact that I got, which again, if they want to say publicly, they can. If they don't want to, then I can only vaguely gesture at it, obviously, because they can do what they want. It's their story, not mine. But it was essentially a person corroborating the 2020 story of him being at that party and sexually assaulting people. I think
people,
but not themselves being a victim.
You're saying, are you really accusing him of sexually assaulting multiple people in a single night? Where did you get that story from, Vaush? People, plural, right? That's what you're saying? Where do you come up with this bullshit? A friend of a friend, I heard. I grew up in his community and heard things.
Like I said, I think for a long time, I was behaving in a way that I actually thought was normal. I thought that, going home from the bar alone made you a loser. I thought that persistence was a form of flattery. And I thought that, if at first somebody was reluctant,
Okay, so wait, hold on. Earlier, he said he respects no's, but now he's saying that persistence is a virtue, and like continuing that. So wait.
No, Vaush, come on. You're not a child. Persistence is having a conversation. Persistence is trying to pursue, but not actually like violating, right? You're like the first victim, supposed victim, alleged victim says that she was worn down, but she was worn down after she had allowed him into her house and allowed him into her bed. So worn down means that you're having a conversation, and he's trying to convince you to have sex. Okay, you're having a conversation. Are you trying to take away like every single fucking responsibility from the women themselves, that when they are presented with a situation like that, they just have to succumb? They can't be like, well, I think that you're going too far, and I don't appreciate this, and you need to leave now. Do you think that women are just like, we are so fucking weak that we can't defend ourselves in a conversation? That we are incapable of making decisions for ourselves? And especially if I've had a couple of drinks, I must be completely fucking out of it, right? I can't make decisions for myself at this point, right? There's a difference between somebody trying to convince you, have a conversation with you, versus somebody actually coming up and grabbing you, which is what happened to me. He just grabbed me. He just fucking grabbed me. And I told him to stop. There's a difference. Okay? Now, the woman, the second one, she let him into her car, knowing that she had already had a bad sexual experience with him. Why? I didn't let that shit continue. Once I realized that that was the kind of person he was, I stopped. I stopped transporting him. Why in the world did she go to dinner with him and let him in her car after she had a bad sexual experience? I just, your reporting is so fucking irresponsible, dude, and you are not a mental health professional. You cannot make judgment calls on this bullshit.
Persistence in this case would mean if they say no, you're like, okay, well, I have to find like a way to get them to say yes, which isn't respecting. No, he's saying he thought that time. No, earlier he said.
Oh my God, you're dancing around this subject so badly. Let me give you an example of like what an actual pestering situation looks like. In '96, I went to Mammoth with 2 friends to stay in a cabin with my ex-boyfriend. There was at least like a dozen people staying in this cabin. And the male friend that I brought with me basically assaulted the female friend I brought with me. And we were all standing right there when it fucking happened. We went to a bar, everybody got drunk, we came back to the cabin, and the 3 of us were supposed to stay in one room. Allie and I were supposed to have the bed, he was supposed to sleep on the floor. He was trying to make his fucking moves on her. He got on top of her. She was clearly uncomfortable, and we were all standing around so that we could pull him off her at any moment, because we didn't know how severe the situation was, and we didn't know whether or not he was just fucking like kidding around, right? Like he could have been just kidding around, but we had to assess like her reaction to it in order to say, get the fuck off her, Josh, and then separate them. But we had to assess the situation first and realize like what the severity of it was. But he fucking lied on top of her on the bed in front of a half dozen of us. That is fucking pestering, dude. Like, you have no clue what you're talking about.
He's always respected no's, right? Like, before he said that he's always respected no's. So, but now it seems this contradicts that.
No, it doesn't.
Playing
It doesn't, because this is a difference between being somebody who is going to constantly get in your face and talk to you versus somebody who is actually like making the moves on you constantly. And in the cases where he got an opening, okay, I can get in your car. Okay, I can get in your house. Okay, I can get in your bed. That's not the same thing as just being an asshole in a bar who won't shut up, right? It's not the same thing. You're making some assumptions here, and I would highly suggest that you leave it to the mental health professionals to evaluate this situation. Not that I am one, but I am a victim, and I probably have a little bit more, I'm older than you, and I probably have a little bit more experience than you do in regards to sexual harassment.
hard to get. Just try harder. And if you think someone's feeling you, make a physical advance and see if they go with it. And I think that, especially I realized when so many young people, especially young men, rushed to defend me when this stuff first started coming out, that this type of sex pest behavior is normalized. And a lot of people think this stuff is normal when I don't think that it is. And I think that I want to be fully responsible for not having a fluid understanding.
He says he respects it, but what he's clearly getting at is he's never taken it past no and physically forced someone to do something. That's all. I mean, that also contradicts some of the claims made of him. It was just...
That's not true, Vaush. There are no claims made against him in which the woman didn't already know him and allow him into her personal space. Your reporting is incredibly irresponsible.
Just the other day, there was a news article that were more accusations against him that corroborated text messages from like 2021 or something at a bar in New York, where there was a girl there who he previously was weird with in Seattle, and then they met at a New York bar, and apparently he like felt her up and then put his hand on top of her head and pushed her head down, like get on your knees, but like at a bar, which is insane. That was the only reading I could get from what was being said in the article, by the way, which was the claim, like at a bar. Wild, yeah. I mean, again, it's accusations, right? It's not
Highly monetized.
perfect fact.
Highly monetized video, Vaush. You were making so much money off of this fucking story. You're making so much goddamn money off of this story. And on top of it, you are not qualified to speak about this, and you're throwing fuel on the fire.
Actual awareness of the situation. It's just like, man, I didn't hear that one. No, those were additional accusations that came out after the first ones, and they were corroborated. There were text messages from the time that it happened that were shown to confirm the events that took place. In the sense that, like, the idea being that if the event was faked, at the very least, something happened back then that would have caused the girls to text each other about it. So if it's a deep state op against him going back multiple years, I guess that's still on the table.
Are you? I can't even with you. You're still doing this deep state op bullshit. It's the Matrix, right? Because it's impossible to organize a virtual, like a social media campaign. That's impossible, right? People don't get in chats and organize together. People don't have democratic clubs where they fucking organize together. Like, it's impossible to actually organize a hit campaign against somebody online, right? It's impossible. I bet Jeff Campbell would disagree with you. I find it impossible for you not to be aware of troll farms.
Of consent and what enthusiastic two-way consent looks like. That being said, a lot of the things that have been said online about me are not true. A lot of things are missing really important contextual information that I think would change people's interpretation of a lot of these situations. But
This is possible. It's not impossible that this is the case, but it would have to be a lot. Like, there would have to be a lot of missing context.
Oh, or you could just use your logical judgment based on like what has been presented to us thus far, but you are like accepting evidence that is not real evidence, and you are rejecting evidence that is real evidence. So, I mean, holy shit, Vaush.
I'm not here to invalidate anybody's lived experience. If you feel pressured, that's just what it is. I hope that young people and young men in particular can use my mistakes to learn and move through life with a better understanding of consent. As far as what I have planned, I'm not really sure what comes next. I mean, obviously, reporting is my one true love, and I'm 25 years old, and I have my whole life ahead of me. But I really think that I need to do some serious work.
By the way, Vaush, he's younger than my son. He's younger than my son. Just about every man in my life has at some point been accused with false allegations. There's always going to be missed connections where you do not perceive how you should behave in a certain scenario. And it's going to be especially difficult for young people because we don't know what sort of male influences he had in his life. We don't know like what example he was given. And clearly he was not reading the room properly, right? But at the same time, the girls weren't reading the room properly either. This is not a cut and dry, he's a sexual predator situation. This dude needs to fucking learn, right? He needs to realize that this shit can come back to bite him if he is pushy or uses his power to his advantage. But it's certainly not what you are describing, and what you are describing is so fucking irresponsible that you could have caused this guy to commit suicide based on your coverage. God damn, your takes are so bad.
Work on myself and figure myself out. So I'm going to start therapy sessions pretty much immediately. Also, not to blame alcohol, but I truly believe that alcohol was a contributing factor to my poor decision making. And I think that alcohol in general has had a devastating impact on my life. So I think I'm going to make the decision to join the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous. And during this journey into sobriety, I want to take a serious step back from public life. And like I said, figure myself out. And I hope that this reaches the ears of anyone who's felt affected by me. I'd love to reach out to you, or you can reach out to me, even just for me to say, I'm sorry. And I really apologize, and I appreciate you all. I also want to apologize to my closest collaborators, my friends, my family, and people who will have to wear this on their career forever. You guys don't deserve this, and I love you guys. That being said, if you never want to watch Channel 5 again, I understand. I hope you remember the missions of radical empathy and media literacy that we have tried to put into the world through our coverage. All right, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, I guess there's not really anything I can say I haven't already said. It's a difficult position because there's not really like much that he could say, unless he came out with some kind of like 3-hour long like epic debunk of everything. I don't really know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Andrew post this to his side channel to 6?
Okay. All right. You've highly monetized this video. I'm done. You put 3 fucking ads on this video. You're obviously earning money off the story, Vaush, and that's pretty fucking pathetic. All right.